Okay, a very warm welcome to this XDC Network AMA series, the Ask Me Anything series. Welcome, viewers. My name is Meenu, and I would be the moderator for this AMA session. And a quick introduction about myself. I'm a blockchain technology evangelist, and I help the founders to scale up the communities. And I do have a blockchain podcast channel called Blockchain Hustle. And through this channel, I try to bridge the gaps between the different blockchain concepts to the actual real life applications. So do subscribe to the Blockchain Hustle channel if you really like this episode. So a quick thing about introduction about this series, this XDC Network Ask Me Anything series. When we started this Ask Me Anything series, with the various partners and the application teams who have their projects on the XDC network or people who have partnered with the XDC network, the XinFin team. And the objective here is to kind of create an awareness of the XDC network complete ecosystem. So, which would mean the project owners, the partners, and the various stakeholders, including you, the community. And when we talk about the partners and the project owners, we are also talking about what they have in their offerings and about their communities also. So the end objective here is to scale up this XDC network community. So our first guest for the series is Mr. Anish Jain, who is the MD and CEO of WadzPay. And a very warm welcome to you, Anish.
Thanks, Meenu, for having me on the series and starting your series with me. It's a real honor to be here. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Okay. So, Anish, it would be great if you could just start off this session with sharing a quick background about yourself and also as to what WadzPay is all about.
Sure. Thanks, Meenu. Well, I am Anish. I've been in the payment space for a little over 20 years now. I started my career back in India with an airline and moved into American Express, where I moved through different departments in the payment space. I worked in Asia, then I worked in Europe, then I was back in Asia. And then I was headhunted by MasterCard to start their prepaid card program and also their financial institution programs globally. And since then, I've been in Singapore. So I've been in Singapore since 2011. And again, doing various things in the payments space. In 2017, I left MasterCard to start what we call as WadzPay now, with the company that I'm working for. WadzPay is essentially a digital assets payment platform, which is an interoperable infrastructure. We are in the B2B space where we enable banks, financial institutions, and other institutions, whoever is in the payment space, merchants, airlines, etc., to participate in this ecosystem using digital assets. Now, digital assets, of course, are of various forms and factors. There are digital currencies, there are stable coins, and of course, the emerging CBDC. So WadzPay does build and provide the infrastructure for pretty much everything, and also the interoperability between all these different layers, as we know.
Okay. So a good veteran from the payment industry space, right?
Yes, I guess, when I was with MasterCard and American Express, there was a lot which was going on. And
Yeah.
prepaid cards was the only newest thing which we could call newest in the payment space, which is actually not that new. Debit cards have
Yeah.
existed forever. But those were the answer to solve financial inclusion. Those were the answer to reduce cost of payment. Those were, or prepaid cards were considered to solve all world problems, but that's not the case. And I saw it firsthand. I pretty much built the prepaid platform for MasterCard from scratch. And something more was needed. And around that time in 2015, 2014, the blockchain emergence started, Ethereum came into light, etc., etc. And you could see the real use cases. And digitization through use of digital wallets had already kind of started, right? So it made sense for these digital assets to somehow interact with these digital wallets, which has not happened in a proper fashion or way so far. And that's what we're trying to solve. So we're trying to merge or create a hybrid solution where the old world meets the new. The consumer's experience pretty much stays consistent. We're not asking the consumer to learn about Ethereum or blockchain or whatnot. All the consumer wants to do is make payments. All the merchant wants to do is accept payments, and that's what they do in our system as well. It's just that we apply various methodologies, which then eliminate the need of manual intervention, or validation could be then online, or validation could be on the chain, etc., etc. And then now with the emergence of CBDC, of course, this makes a lot more sense, because it is blockchain based, right? So, but these are of course based on private chains, at least as per what's out there in the market right now, or what's projected to be coming out. And we then provide interoperability layers where we allow these chains to interact with each other, or allow the consumer traveling from Singapore into Dubai or Dubai into Singapore make transactions using foreign exchanges or foreign exchange based CBDCs. So those are things that we are testing. A lot of these things are in the test phase. A lot of these things are reality. Some of these programs are in implementation. But there is a lot which is going on. It's a very exciting space to be in at this point.
Yeah, the technology kind of opens up the avenues where you think, yes, I can solve this challenge, rather than using technology for the technology's sake, right?
Yeah. I mean, the applications are just mind-boggling, and wherever you look, you can see that the technology can be applied, and it can make a difference, and it actually can make a difference. We're not talking about competing on cents and dimes, so we're not talking about making the cost of transaction cheaper. I think cost of transaction is already very cheap, especially in developed markets, not in underdeveloped markets. Cross-border transactions, in certain cases, yes, they're cheap, but in several other cases, they're not very cheap. So yes, cost is a factor, but I think the more important is fraud management. Is live validation of transactions, which is possible over blockchain, but not possible in any other scenario. And also removing intermediaries from the ecosystem, wherein a transaction should not pass through 5 intermediaries before it reaches its intended recipient. It should be from the sender to the recipient, and that's what blockchain enables, and that's where we play a part. So the application in terms of consumer use or the end consumer use may not be that apparent right away, but it will just sink in as part of your life over a longer period of time. I mean, we're talking about electric cars, we're talking about drones, we're talking about lots of other technology which is happening, remote e-healthcare, etc., etc. How do you make transactions for that? So sitting in Singapore, it's easy, but if you're sitting in a second world or third world country, it's a little more difficult. So that's what we're trying to solve for as part of the holistic proposition.
Great, awesome. So I would put more of the time on the community questions, because that's what this AMA is all about. So Anish, we did get a very overwhelming response to this AMA and several questions. So thanks a lot, community, for that response. Greatly appreciated. So I'll get on to the questions from the community. And Anish, what I've done is I have categorized those questions under different buckets. So we would first start with something which got the maximum amount of responses. And that one is on the WadzPay token, the WTK on the XDC network. So before I get on to those questions, the first one here is, what is the connection between WadzPay and the XDC network? How do they relate?
Well, we have a very good partnership between the two companies, and that partnership goes beyond just exchanging technology and infrastructure. We are glad to be partners with XDC, and XDC has shown support and interest in the WadzPay ecosystem. See, XDC set out with a vision which was to transform trade finance, and WadzPay had set out with a vision which is to transform payments. And XDC has been extremely successful when it comes to trade finance based transactions, and how they have They've incorporated blockchain into the ecosystem. And similar is what we are trying to do. So there are a lot of similarities. We operate again in a very similar paradigm, wherein there is a sender, there is a receiver, there is a validator. So there is a lot of similarities. Also, the XDC protocol, of course, is a protocol that what WTK is also moving over to, and that's also because of a lot of things which it has been built with kept in mind, right? So things like TPS, things like faster settlements, etc., which completely work with what WTK intends to do. So the relationship with XDC is at many folds. Of course, we exchange technology, we exchange notes, what we're doing in different markets, the markets that we're trying to activate, and of course, WTK will also ride on the XDC protocol. So there's a lot which is going on.
Good. Yes. So now the question which had been on everybody's lips or fingertips, I would say here, is the question is that when can we expect the WTK on the XDC network? So I remember you had, sorry.
Sorry.
Okay. No, I recollect one of the tweets in which you mentioned, I guess that was when you were in Dubai for the festival. You mentioned that WTK has found a new home on the XDC network. Can you just elaborate on that?
Yes. So as I said, I mean, we will be the WTK token will be available on the XDC protocol. It will be available both on ERC and XDC. There is a reason that we want to offer our consumers or the choice of various protocols. And there is a chance that it will be available on others as well as we move along in the future. But on the XDC protocol, WTK will be available towards the end of this year. We are already working on enabling the technology. See, it's not very straightforward getting a token onto another protocol because there are a lot of users who are holding our token. There are also businesses who are already using our token to interact or make settlements or make transactions, etc., etc. So we need to make sure that the enablement is seamless. And there's a bridge which will be formed, and on these tokens could be either swapped or these could be held in different in both protocols, etc., etc.
Okay.
So that work is ongoing. There is a collaborative effort between the two companies right now, and that's ongoing. And we can hope to have it towards the end of this year, which is hardly any time left.
One and a half months. Yeah.
We are working very hard.
The Christmas break.
We're not getting a Christmas break, no. Till this is done, we don't have a break.
Yeah, because yes, when you're talking about the migration, we do have another question as to how would this XRC20 migration work, and also if you have deployed a token on XinFin Network, which you said, of course, towards the end of the year, to share the transaction hash and the contact address.
Yes, I mean, it's not been deployed yet, as I said, so the work is ongoing. But once it's ready, and once it's ready for people to use and people to look and feel, of course, all the details will be shared. There will be FAQs which will be available on our online forums, and everywhere. It will be published wherever necessary as well. We will have a customer service desk as well, which will help people walk through that journey when that happens. So all of that does take time. It does take time from a technology development, deployment, testing phase. And also then what we sometimes don't realize is also the support that we need to build when such a migration happens. Because if you don't have the proper support and proper FAQs, a lot of things can go wrong. So we're trying to minimize that, trying our best. And of course, this is while we are doing 100 other things as well. So, but this is the top priority from a WTK token standpoint.
Okay, good. Great to hear that. Yeah. So one more question before I go on to the next category, Anish, is apart from WTK on the XDC network, do you see any other areas of synergy or collaboration with the XDC network, the team there?
Yes, so we are working, as I said, the collaboration with XDC is manifold. We are trying to figure out use cases where we can use their existing network or their existing time base or resource base and plug in ours. Of course, something which is a liquidity pool is what we look at in the future of sharing, especially on the remittance front, because that's where XDC or the XinFin protocol or the XinFin ecosystem is already very relevant, where they're doing trade finance transactions across border. And with the way we are trying to solve for remittance, of course, that's where XDC really excels. And we would look at those endpoints and utilize those endpoints either as a white label or under the XDC brand or under the WadzPay brand. So that collaboration is definitely ongoing. And again, there are lots of other things. The XDC token will also be available on the WadzPay ecosystem. It will also be used for settlement, like it is. The WTK is being used for the merchants, etc., etc. So all of those will happen. There is also coordinated marketing efforts which will happen once some of these programs are live. So there is a lot that we're looking at doing with XDC. And again, I mean, it's established brand XDC, and we are an upcoming and growing brand. So it makes sense for us to learn from what they have already achieved, or what we can take as good takeaways from their experience.
Sounds exciting.
It
is. So while we're talking on that, let's get on to the second hot topic here, which is exchange listings. So there have been a lot of questions, like there was one question, I think in one of the AMAs you had mentioned about WadzPay is going to be listed on another exchange in October, which was last month. And then people have said more exchange listings needed urgently.
See, exchange listings are interesting, and exchange listings also give us, of course, a lot more visibility and expansion. And it also gives us scope for expansion. But and we have done our listing last month, so we are now also available on BitTrue exchange end of last month. But now for us, the next hot topic was, of course, enabling the WTK token on the XDC network. So that is something which you would see happen in the next month or two. And post that, we would look at if there is a need for other exchanges to be added. And of course, this will also depend on geographic expansion, probably, where we expand and where do we need liquidity providers, etc., and that's where we may connect into new exchanges. So that we are always on the lookout on what is relevant and where we need to be more relevant. So definitely 2 exchanges is not the end of it. There will be more exchanges, but right now, not sure. Probably Q1, Q2 next year, we can look at more exchanges coming or more announcements regarding new exchanges coming.
Good. That's good. Yes. Steadily, right?
Steady, yes.
Okay. Next, we have a few questions on the tokenomics.
Sure.
So the first question here is, when would the revised white paper and your updated tokenomics be released?
This is it's a hot topic internally because there is a lot of work which is ongoing. See, we cover a lot of fields, a lot of territories when it comes to payments. And whatever we write in our white paper also has a repercussion in terms of regulatory concerns. As I said, or as what we stand for, we do work with the regulator closely, or we do work with banks and financial institutions or regulated entities closely. So we have to be cognizant of the fact that what do we put in these white papers, or what do we put in these tokenomics. So a lot of discussion, a lot of time gets taken up, and I know there have been a lot of versions internally, or there have been versions which have been shared with legal or compliance, etc., etc. There's a lot of reiterations which are currently ongoing. When we started, we were a Singapore-based company which was focused on Southeast Asia, and now we are a company which in Southeast Asia with 4 offices outside of Asia and expanding. So we need to look at a lot of things, and we are working through that. So yes, the white paper and tokenomics, we're working on it, and that's exactly the reason why I said more exchange listings will have to wait till all of this is finalized. So I think Towards the end of this year, early next year, you would see the new white paper and the tokenomics
Okay.
coming out, formally published by us.
Okay. So towards the end or the early next year, right?
Early next year, yeah. So between December and January, that's where we plan to publish the new tokenomics and the new white paper officially.
Okay, good. So something on a similar line, there is one question is there on what is the total supply of tokens and are there any airdrops?
So the total supply, okay, so I've heard this question internally as well. The total supply is 250 million and it will remain to be 250 million. So even with the new tokenomics and white paper, etc., coming in, that is not changing. We are not adding new supply.
That remains constant.
That will remain to be constant. We will also have a burn mechanism, which we had already previously promised. What we will do is we will have a lot more clarity on that burn mechanism, etc., as well. So the token supply does not change. We have no intentions of changing it at this point in time. There is no requirement for it. We do see the use case at the current supply a lot more relevant. So that remains to be pretty much static at this point.
What about airdrops, Anish?
Airdrops, not right away, but we are looking at airdrops in the future to incentivize and to run incentive-based programs as well. We have started some other programs with the launch of the new exchange with BitTrue, such as staking, etc. So all these programs are in the works, and we would be introducing all of these in the future releases as well.
Okay, yeah. So you mentioned about the token burn. So would you have some kind of a schedule that you could share here for the tokens burn?
So yes, happy to share that, and this is something which will also which will also feature in our published tokenomics. So this is something which has already been agreed for. So whatever revenue that we generate from the WTK token in the WadzPay ecosystem. Now let me clarify over here. The WadzPay ecosystem is pretty large. So the WadzPay ecosystem also processes USDT, BTC, ETH, etc., based transactions. And there is WTK. So whatever is the revenue that we see from WTK in a quarter, we will burn 5% of that supply in the next quarter.
5%.
5% of that supply.
Okay.
So in Q3 of 2021, the revenue that we generated from the WTK token itself, this is not the company revenue, but this is just revenue from the token was around $500,000. And we will be burning about $25,000 worth of supply in this quarter, which is Q4. And that's something which is now a finalized tokenomics, and it will also feature in the document that we share. So again, the Q3 for us was more of testing. So those revenues are far from actual real revenues that we expect in Q4, which are supposed to be much larger. And so those numbers would keep on increasing. And we will also publish a formula of how these could be tracked on an ongoing basis and how these numbers will be made available. But yes, so that's something which is already being agreed, and we will burn $25,000 worth of supply, or we'll buy it back from the market at different mediums, and we will be burning that supply back.
Great, thanks. I guess that was one question which several people had asked. So I said, yes, that is something which we need to put across here. So the next one, Anish, I would like to talk something on the product. And I must say it was very heartening to see those questions on the product, because you see, people are usually focusing on the price of a token. But when they go apart from the price of the token, when they go also into what is the product, what are the users, etc., that's very heartening, at least for me. Yes, people are interested in the product, in the company, and not just, just as a speculative thing. So yeah, so what some of the questions on the product is like, when would a debit card be available and an app, for example?
So a debit card, or what we call as the prepaid card, because the difference between a debit and a prepaid card, at least again, because I come from payments, so for me it is a very specific difference. Prepaid card is which could be funded by any bank account or any account in the back end. So it could be a cryptocurrency account, it could be a crypto wallet, etc. And a debit card has to be linked to a savings account. So prepaid card offering is already available. So we can issue prepaid cards through our platform. Now, there has been a little bit of a change in what WadzPay was 2 years ago or what WadzPay is today. Initially, our plan was to go B2C, wherein we would issue these prepaid cards directly to our consumer. But since last year, we changed our direction to be B2B because that's where we found a lot more relevance, or we found that we could add a lot more value, and that's where the development could add a lot more value, and there was a need in the market. So these prepaid cards would be are available, and these could be available to our customer through their own banking client or through their own financial institution who would opt to work with us. So we will have one of these customers live in Q1 next year. And if they opt to issue prepaid cards through us, they would be able to do so. So but it will carry their brand, but user would be able to use this prepaid card to pay from his crypto wallet or digital asset wallet.
Okay, good. Yeah. So the other one is on how are the businesses using your network to save money?
So save money. I'm not sure save money is the right verbatim for it, but how businesses are using our network. Let me give you a few examples. What we are doing is we are providing custodial services to a financial institution who otherwise did not have the capability to do so. So this financial institution could be a bank. This financial institution could be somebody who has customers or who has a regulatory approval to hold customers. And currently, they could only offer an offering in fiat. But with us, we connect into these financial institutions or these operators through APIs, and they're able to provide custodial services, on-ramp, off-ramp services for digital assets as well. And this is all regulated under the regulation. So that's the interesting part. So basically, we could go. The technology can go and enable a bank to become an exchange, pretty much, or provide custodial services or parts of those services as and when or as and what the bank opts to do. So that's one part of it. So that's what we call the issuance side of the business. And then there is the acquiring side of the business, wherein we are enabling merchants to start accepting digital assets. So again, we're working through network aggregators or merchant aggregators who would then brand this. So let's say if you land on a duty-free sometime soon in the very near future, you would be able to make payments with digital assets, and you would know that which brand is enabling that. So those are the kind of programs that we are doing right now, and also on the remittance side. On the remittance side, basically we are connecting, and that's where we are also working with XDC Network. We are connecting cross-border transactions through messaging and through something what we call as Remittance 3.0, wherein, of course, remittance could be made significantly cheaper and faster with lots of options for the sender and the receiver. So those are the three line items where our clients work with us, which is custodial services on the issuance side, acquiring side, and on the remittance side. On the settlement side. So the good thing is we already have a gaming program which is live, which has been live since Q3, and we will have a couple of programs on the issuance side and on the acquiring side going live this year and early next year. So there's a lot which is in store, and that's why we're ramping up pretty significantly and pretty fast as well to support all these programs going into the market.
Sounds quite exciting, Anish, I must say.
It is a lot of work which is going on, and I must say the team is working 24/7, trying to make sure that we deliver on time.
Okay. So talking about the team, what are the growth? I mean, how strong is your team now, and what is your growth plans with respect to the team?
Our number changes every day, pretty much every day. We're hiring pretty much every day. We have an office in Singapore now. We've just set up an office in India. We have an office in Dubai now. We were in Singapore, and of course, we have a very strong team in Indonesia as well. And we are hiring. We're still hiring. We are around 50. We were 4 beginning of the year. We are around 50 now, and as per the current plans, we will be about 125 by Q1. So it's a very steep trajectory. And bless our HR because they're doing a phenomenal job trying to get people in, trying to train people, trying to get things going, because it's just not hiring, but the real work actually starts after hiring, and that's with training, getting people acquainted. And because we're just not a normal business which is doing day-to-day things. We are in a disruptive stage. So there is always something which is changing, or there's always something which is evolving, or something new which is happening. So we're blessed to have a very good and energetic team which comes from different walks of life. We have some really good people who've joined us in Middle East very recently. Some new people who joined us in India, head of HR, head of finance, head of tech, and also some really nice people who joined us in Singapore. And there are a couple of pretty brilliant hires that we are looking to come on board very soon. It's just everybody's serving their notice period and coming on board.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I did notice one of your announcements on a new development center in New Delhi. That was a recent one, right? Yeah.
So we had that development center. Initially, it was planned for about 50 people, but we ran out of space, so we have another development center now. So again, I mean, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking of the same. Yeah.
So it's a good problem to have, but right now it's internally it's chaotic. So there is a lot of chaos because everybody is trying to run from point A to point B and trying to do where they've not even reached yet. But it's a good chaos to have, and I'm sure we will emerge as victorious on the other side. So yeah, hats off to the team for doing the work they're doing and sticking with us and pushing this forward.
One last question on this, Anish. There was this question, I guess, from a couple of developers, if I'm not mistaken, as to when are the WTK services going to open up in Canada, and any North American team that the developers can work with to build something.
So there is an ongoing discussion that we have, a business discussion that we have, and with a team in Canada, not on the development side. Our development backbone will remain to be Delhi, India. That's where all the development will happen. The development center is, or shared services as we call it, where all the shared services are based. But we will have front-end teams or front-end customer service teams in these markets. So there are discussions which are already ongoing in North America. That's where we are looking at expanding next, and Europe. So these two markets, there are lots of discussions, but we're just taking our time to kind of take everything in from what we're doing in Middle East and Africa and what we're doing in Southeast Asia, get a couple of programs live, hit the ground, and get the teams in place, because before we add more, we need to make sure that we cover ground properly, what we have already, which is a lot. So so yes, there's a lot which is going on, but as and when we expand more or we have more clarity on what we're doing in Canada and Europe, we will of course reach out to community through, again, our official channels or forum on the website to let people know, and if they want to engage with us, happy to do so.
Good. So that was, I guess, pretty insightful, and we're running out of time. But before I wrap up this episode, Anish, is there any point, any topic that we haven't covered up, and that you would like to share at this forum?
No, I mean, those questions were brilliant. Thank you so much. Those were nice questions, and We are overwhelmed with the support that we've received, and we're very happy with the support that we've received and the attention that we've received. I'm glad that, like you said, that the community is interested in the product, not just the price of the token. To be very honest, that's what drives us as well, which is the product and how we can build more utility around the token. See, WTK is of course the hero token of WadzPay, but there is a lot more which is coming in Q1, Q2. And we'll just like everybody to stay tuned for that and just see what happens, because there's a lot of interesting stuff that we're trying to do, especially in the loyalty space, and trying to introduce new things in the loyalty space as well. So we're out to change payments forever. We're out to change how the look and feel of payments will be. Payments won't be boring. We can promise you that. In a couple of months, they'll be a lot more interesting. So yeah, I mean that's what we intend to do, and happy to stay connected.
Thank you. So thanks a lot, Anish, for your time as well as for all this share of insights and information. Thanks a lot.
Thank
And
you.
community viewers, thanks a ton for your overwhelming response, for your questions, and for viewing this and for taking the time, and of course, for all your support. The next AMA is going to be a couple of weeks after this on the 23rd of November with StoreX, which is on the decentralized cloud storage. So till then, everybody stay safe. Thanks a lot once again. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks.